Welcome back. Okay, let's dive into this. We spend so much time looking at massive data sets and universal trends in the hobby, but honestly, sometimes the absolute best insights come from just one person's highly specific perspective. Today, we're dissecting the anatomy of a super niche opinion about a fish that basically everyone else adores. It's just a fantastic exercise in seeing how two people can look at the exact same creature and walk away with completely opposite takeaways. Take a look at this quote. "Why Boeseman's rainbowfish isn't quite my cup of tea." That's actually the title of a blog post, specifically part 248 of a series called Notes on Fishkeeping. It was published on May 4th, 2026, by a writer who just goes by Ang. Now, if you are at all plugged into the aquarium world, you know the Boeseman's rainbowfish is an incredibly popular staple. So the immediate mystery for us is, why on earth does Ang, someone who has literally written over 248 posts about fish keeping, actively dislike such a beloved species? Well, to figure out this critique, we first have to understand the journey that led to it.
The context of our source material today starts off in a way that is just incredibly relatable. Ang wasn't out looking to pick a fight or write some controversial hot take. They were literally just running routine errands, picking up some everyday supplies at the local fish shop. But hey, as anyone who goes to these shops knows, there is no way you just buy your stuff and walk out without checking out the tanks, right? So while browsing, Ang spots this group of intriguing new arrivals swimming around in one of the display tanks.
Upon closer inspection, Ang identifies these eye-catching new arrivals as melanotaenia-boesemani, which the rest of us universally know as the Boeseman's rainbowfish. Now, before we get into Ang's contrarian hot take, we really need to understand why these fish are usually considered absolute showstoppers. Like, what exactly makes them so special to everyone else? And this brilliantly illustrates their most famous, celebrated trait, their crazy, split-down-the-middle coloration. It's like the visual makeup of the fish is divided into two totally different zones. The front half is usually this cool, muted bluish gray. It's kind of subtle, right? But then, right in the middle of their body, there's this stark, dramatic transition where the color just bursts into vibrant orange or yellow. Ang actually notes that these bright colors pop with serious intensity specifically around the rear fins and the tail. It literally creates this stunning, naturally occurring visual contrast that almost looks painted on.
But the aesthetic appeal doesn't stop at just the colors. The key term you need to know here is double dorsal fins. So while your standard fish usually just has one, the Boeseman's rainbowfish rocks this distinct and honestly pretty rare physical feature of having two. It's a structural quirk that makes the species instantly recognizable. So when you take that striking bluish-gray and vibrant orange half-and-half coloring and you combine it with that unique silhouette provided by the double dorsal fins, yeah, it's super easy to see why they're a massive hit in the hobby. They are biologically designed to stand out.
Now, to truly get a species, we've got to look past just their physical anatomy and actually watch their behavior, and our source material gives us a perfect little window into this. While at the shop admiring these distinct fish, Ang decides to snap a quick photo for the blog. But the absolute second that camera flash goes off, the fish react instantly. Immediate retreat. The whole group just darts away from the glass and clusters tightly together at the very back of the tank. It's a fleeting everyday moment, but it perfectly highlights a deeply hardwired behavioral trait. Boeseman's rainbowfish have incredibly strong schooling instincts. When they're hit with a sudden stimulus, their ultimate defense mechanism is to find safety in numbers. So, the crucial point is the number 6. Because of that hardwired schooling behavior we just saw triggered by the camera flash, these guys are strict schooling fish. Ang explicitly points out that they absolutely must be kept in a group of at least 6 to feel secure in a tank. And look, this isn't just an aesthetic suggestion to make your aquarium look cool. It is a fundamental requirement for the animal's well-being. If you try to keep them alone, or even just in a pair, they're going to live in a constant state of stress without that safety net. 6 is the absolute baseline to give them the security they biologically crave. Which brings us to the big question of today's explainer. We've seen their striking split colors, we've learned about those rare double dorsal fins, we know all about their tight-knit schooling dynamics. By all objective measures, they're an incredibly fascinating, beautiful species, and the broader aquarium hobby emphatically agrees. But does everyone love them? Well, it's time for us to slow down, pivot the narrative, and look at the other side of the glass. Let's step away from the universally accepted hype for a second and dive right into Ang's highly subjective, completely contrarian perspective. Here is Ang's honest, unfiltered verdict on the Boeseman's rainbowfish. Despite totally acknowledging their massive popularity in the hobby, Ang plainly states that this variety has simply never appealed to their personal taste. And it all boils down to the physical architecture. Ang just finds their overall body shape to be a bit odd.
The critique specifically zeroes in on their frame. When they're young, they possess a relatively flat frame, right? But here is the critical observation that completely turns Ang away. As these fish get older, that flat frame doesn't stay flat. It tends to become heavily arched. It entirely changes the silhouette and the visual flow of the animal as it ages. For Ang, this structural transformation from a sleek, flat frame to a heavily arched back is visually unappealing, and it completely overrides the beautiful colors and those unique double fins.
And that brings us to the end of our analysis, leaving us with a pretty fun, subjective challenge. I think it really highlights how wonderfully diverse opinions can be, even when we are looking at the exact same data points. So where do you stand? Do you align with the popular aquarium consensus, marveling at the vibrant half-and-half colors and those rare double dorsal fins? Or, now that you've heard the other side, do you kind of share Ang's niche critique about that oddly arched aging frame? I highly encourage you, as a focused learner, to go look up some photos of the Boeseman's rainbowfish at different stages of its life. Check out that changing silhouette for yourself. What do you see? Go form your own niche opinion. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I absolutely cannot wait to dive into our next topic with you.